Welcome back, everyone, to Reality Realness with three S's. We are covering Big Brother Cheesecake 5 All-Stars. I am your host, Nick, and I'm here with my lovely co-host, Lindsay. And
Hi.
we are, unfortunately, with the lovely Chantel, who is the most recent evictee in the house. What the hell happened this week?
This week or in general?
I mean,
What
I think we
anything.
need to hear a whole history.
I think what happened this week is that my trust in Brazil's relationship with Curtis allowed me to take a little bit of my defenses down and allowed him to dictate the virus game. So, Curtis, I wake up and I'm already in a group chat with Virus Gang, and it's a bunch of people from season three, season four, minus Jonathan and minus Kat. I didn't really realize who wasn't there, but just like the game was going and we had to we're choosing all these people, and I'm just like, I kind of just woke up into it and kind of agreed about it. And
Mm.
so Curtis, he's like, okay, I'm gonna infect you, and then you're gonna infect JoJo and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, because we're trying to get at this point Aton to be the head of household, and so Aton didn't want to have it, and I was like, well, Curtis, just give it to Aton instead, no matter what, because your closest ally in this game, from my perspective, is Brazil. And Brazil gave him head of household when she was doing the winner's choice the first week. And I just assumed that he would want to keep Brazil's best interest there and wouldn't put Kat up or give Kat the head of household here when he had to choose who's going to infect and who he wasn't. And he told me many, many times to trust him, that there's no way that Kat was going to burn him. And he gave Kat the head of household there. As soon as that happened, I didn't personally feel safe. I thought that most likely was going to be me and Brazil that was going to be going up for nomination. Obviously, I had to play that I didn't think that she would do that because we had this bond and bygones be bygones. And I didn't want her to think that I didn't trust her. And so I was, though, definitely worried to be going up at that point against Brazil, especially because Brazil has a lot of bad blood with Kat from season 4. So
Fair.
that is where I think I went most wrong, is trusting Brazil's relationship with Curtis as being a way to protect me from having the head of household go into Kat's hands.
Could you have done anything differently within that competition? Because it sounds like you had no choice whether you got infected, and you were already going to vaccinate, let's say probably JoJo or probably a few other people, and it's kind of like you did all you could in the comp, but you would have had different influence or push
I
to.
might not have said to allow me to be infected right then. I think it was between me or Nicole.
Okay.
And I also didn't want to push back too much because I didn't want it to look like I was trying to steer things a certain way. I wanted to seem as though I was being a team player, and I didn't want to look like I was trying to have a lot of control. So I was doing my best to be a team player in that group.
Okay.
Sounds like
So
it.
out of this game, I'm curious to hear your opinion of what position do you think Curtis is in now?
Um, Well, I think that was really good that Brazil won the veto competition because she's staying in this game, and they are a very strong duo. I know, her best friend, real life best friend Nicole, but game best friend is Curtis, and I think that they're really smart. They're really great at competitions, and they're really loyal to each other. I know that he did that to Brazil, but I feel like he would go out and avenge, what Kat did to him, because I think that he really did trust her. I think that he was really hurt that it wasn't a way that we could bridge and mend fences from my head of household week, and I think that he was really just upset for the fact that Kat took something that his word, and he promised, and he basically made promises to a lot of different people, kind of swearing up and down, saying, please trust me, please trust me, please trust me. And then she snaked Nicole. I'm out. And I think that he would be in the hot seat, especially also because he infected Joanne as well. And from what Joanne was telling me this week is that she was really, really hurt by Curtis for that move as well. I'm not sure how deep their relationship was, but she claimed to consider her one of her closest people in the house. And so she was shocked, firstly, by the fact that he did that without any warning, from what I was told. And I could see with her being the head of household now that potentially him and maybe Brazil might go up with him. Other people that might be in the hot seat would be Jonathan, because he put her up. Yes, she was a replacement nominee, but I don't think that anybody feels great about people putting them up. So that's a possibility. And the one, though, that, I mean, I think she should do, but I don't think that she would have the balls to do it. Like, not at all. But Chanel, because Chanel is in a really, really, really good position right now. She's a winner. She knows how to play this game. The end game, she's really good at like competition, studying, and all that stuff. And then she also has season 2, who they have dissension, and they, you know, have bad blood from their actual season, and even bad blood from this season. There wasn't a lot of trust. A lot of things that all 3 of them were saying to me back and forth was, oh, I don't fully trust them. Oh, they've snaked me in the past. Like, there was a little bit of dissension, but it's in their best interest right now to work together. But I think that Chanel would stab any of them in the back if it meant for her moving forward, 100%. And I think that it would be, I mean, I can't picture her doing it, but if she took out Chanel this round, like, that would be epic, because she wouldn't have seen it coming. And I think that she thinks that she's outsmarting everybody.
Oh,
Interesting.
Well, very.
So I'll be honest, when I saw that Curtis picked Kat, I was like, okay, he cut a deal. Curtis, Brazil, like, a lot of those people are safe. So I was just like, okay, I don't know what that's going to mean, but he probably just gave it to Kat as potentially a weapon to use against someone that he doesn't necessarily want to stay in the game, but he can't make moves against. So you came to mind. But then, so I was like, okay, I think that's happening. But when I saw that Brazil was nominated, I was like actually shocked. I didn't. So I was like, is Kat just wants to just burn everything to the ground and doesn't care, and she's going rogue, like she's in power every week from now, or what deals were made? But I still don't know if this was all part of the plan, or like it was just a really interesting week to watch. So do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, it could be either side. We can give him like the mastermind edit, but I don't think that it deserves that. I think that he was playing with his heart here, and I think he got fooled. Because not one of us, if he started this group, and not one of us felt that it was in our group's best interest to have Kat be the head of household right now. And pardon me?
Over Aton, especially.
Over Aton. And I know Aton didn't want it, and I get it. Like, being head of household, you know, you make some enemies at times, or usually. But it's also an opportunity to make new friends. And so I wish that Aton wanted to step in at that point, because I just think that it would have put him in a better position in the game. I think that he's in a great position. Like, I don't think anybody's coming for him. But I think that he would have been able to steer the game a little bit to his advantage.
As someone who's played with Aton more than once, I'm just shocked that he doesn't want to win. Like, that's like, it's so in his DNA to want to win. So it's just shocking to me to hear that.
Because as an all-star, isn't that kind of one of the points, is that you do want to try and take control and steer the game a little bit?
And get those wins under your belt so people think you deserve it in the end, right? That's all Andrew talks about is comp wins. People talk about comp wins. I don't care about them necessarily, but it is another good thing to have. And it helps get you there if you're making these choices.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I didn't necessarily wanted to win that particular head of household, but I wish it were a game where either maybe we're interacting. I could be like, make a deal with someone, like, okay, you take it, like, you know what I mean? I wish that there was just more elements in most of the competitions where some gaming could be happening. I guessed the number. I thought I was guessing really high, but apparently I guessed right. And I might have wanted to do something differently if there was somebody else that was head of household. You know what I mean? And also, just to add and clarify, one of the reasons why I'm in this situation too is because I nominated Ryan and Kat, and Kat is upset with me, which is, I understand that she is, but it was the threat of the Ruby veto that I was really coming for. Like, that was what was being told, like, I'm using it this week, no matter what. So be careful of who you nominate, because I'm using the veto. I'm using the Ruby veto. And so I just wanted to know what was going to be happening with the Ruby veto, instead of getting 4 people mad at me and then Ryan take 2 people off and be the hero again for 2 people. So I know it looks as though I was coming for Ryan and Kat, but I was coming for the threat of that veto, which was a game mechanic that I wanted to take out of the game.
Okay, sorry, I just want to clarify what you said. I don't think I quite realized this. So Ryan had told you that no matter who you nominated, he was going to be using the Ruby that week?
Yeah, so even before I was head of household, he said to the group 3-4 chat, I am using this week, I am using the Ruby veto. I want to flush the Ruby veto. He said it. And then when I was head of household, make sure that you choose somebody controllable so that we can make sure that they use the veto, so I can use the Ruby veto on them or whatever. And so he multiple times had threatened me with the fact that it was going to be used. And so that is why I put him and Kat up, because at least I was going to know that the veto was going to be used on both of them. I really actually didn't anticipate him going off the way that he did. Like, I feel bad for the way that he reacted, because I really didn't want it to go that way at all. I was pretty hurt by the vitriol that was coming at him, which must have been what was always simmering under the surface. But like, this was an opportunity for him to blow at me. But I really, like, my initial intention was to flush the veto. And then with how he was kind of coming at us and threatening us, me and JoJo particularly, because he won the veto, we didn't feel comfortable anymore having him in the game. But honestly, the original intention was for it just to flush the veto, and then it would just have been a normal week with 2 noms on the block.
Whether he was telling the truth about using it or not, it's like, you have to believe him at his word, because he's proud of when he says something, he does it, and he criticizes people for not doing that. So, I mean, I believe that he would have used it if he wasn't on the block, no matter who you nominated. So I think, it was a defensive move on your part, but I think it still led very much to you getting here. And I think maybe back to the virus competition, that's what I was saying. Like, it was potentially the intent of, if I give it to Kat, this could be that move that is very now justified. So whether it was going to happen or not, so it was interesting. I really did like the virus competition this time, though, where it went like virus, vaccine, virus, vaccine. I thought that was a nice twist on it compared to when we did it, and I think when you did it in your season.
Well, I thought you had virus.
No, we got to give both at the same time.
When you got infected, you had to antidote someone else.
Yeah,
it's the same.
No, in this one, you virus someone, and then you, as the person who got virus, you couldn't choose to knock someone out. You just had to choose to save someone by giving them the vaccine. We would be choosing the antidote and the next victim, I think. The person who gets knocked out.
So we got to make 2 moves at once. So we had to choose
you're infected, you get the virus. You're virus.
Yeah. So for us, it actually made a bit of sense. And I mean, I know this was the logic that Curtis was explaining to you as well, but I think it made a bit more sense to keep it on our side of the house by infecting our allies at the beginning, so that we could control what moves they were actually making, because they could kill and vaccinate at the same time. So it was quite a powerful thing to actually
just keep it that way if you have a big enough alliance.
So there's a little bit of a different twist on it.
For sure. No, I just assumed that yours was the way that ours was when I was just thinking back to it. But I don't remember it being like that. So that's actually interesting. I think this is the way it definitely works a bit better. It's similar to Sequester. They have a game where someone will be safe, and then the safe person has to put someone that's going to be in exile that would be up for elimination. So it definitely is. I like the competition itself. Didn't necessarily like how it went.
So now, okay, let's go to after the results. You now know Kat as HOH. What did you do or could have done differently in the moments leading up to the nominations? Did you feel you did everything you could? Were you getting BS'd? Were you BSing? What happened?
I was definitely getting a lot of BS. The only person I was really BSing was Andrew, being like, I think that I'm going to be okay. And Kat. I mean, I really wasn't going to be coming for Kat. I was being serious when I was saying to her that I didn't have any intentions of coming for her. Even when the nomination, it went completely differently than I thought. I really didn't think that Ryan was going to react in that way. Like, yes, nobody wants to be nominated, but I was like, let's take this to the group. Let's make sure you get off the block. Like, and I would have been 100% happy with him taking himself off the block using the Rudy veto. Like, that was 100% what was going on. And Kat was like, I trust you. I trust you. And I really thought that she meant that. And I wasn't planning on coming for Kat. I wasn't planning on, I really did want to still be able to work with her. I was hoping that we were going to be able to show her by a unanimous vote that she was going to be staying, that we did not want her to leave. It would have been unanimous from what I know. And that I think would have showed her a little bit that she was wanted in the house. But by Ryan quitting, it kind of took away the closing of that chapter. And I think that she's still kind of an open wound for her. And I didn't really realize that it wasn't, I didn't mend that effectively.
That could have almost been strategy on his part to not have that go and make it look like they were in control of what happened there as opposed to the house or you or the vote, to make it still be a like no closure kind of thing. But you, oh, go ahead. No, I had nothing else to say on that.
Okay. So I'm curious to hear now. So you've done what you could for the HOH. You've done what you could leading up to the noms. Now you've been nominated. You're playing in the veto. Like to hear your thoughts on how that went. And
I mean, I was fortunate enough that I was up when the video dropped, so I knew that first come first serve was you could use all your veto bucks to win a major advantage, and for a minor advantage you could use half of whatever veto bucks that you have. So I was kind of already like, wow, I have to use $80 here just to like for this. I'm like, wow, this must be like a major advantage. And so I was feeling great about, the veto, the people that were playing. I thought that I had a decent chance to maybe winning or maybe leaving the noms to stay like intact, because I did feel I would have had a better chance of staying with Brazil on the block, because I do feel that she's coming for Kat more than I was coming for Kat, no matter what. And I think also their relationship, I got roped into having the same beliefs as she does, and I actually really didn't. I heard what she's had to say, but I didn't necessarily believe and agree and had the same fire to coming against them as she did. So I did feel like I was going to say. So I thought that my worst case scenario was if Brazil were to win the veto. I thought that I would be staying in any other scenario. So the competition though, and me, I obviously if I'm in trouble, I want to win this. I'm not usually the one that will just be like, let it go to fate. But this game was pretty much fate. It was punch a bunch if you see it on Price is Right. So what it is, you have like some different products that were higher and lower. I wish I'd asked more questions about the products, because sometimes I didn't know sizes or how many milliliters it was, and so I didn't, in my opinion, give the best answers of higher or lower. So I only had 2 guesses, I think in total. And one, I got a free guess from the major advantage. And then the other part of the major advantage was I could choose the order of people punching. Oh. So yeah, that could be good, but it doesn't necessarily matter, because what you're punching is luck. So there was, I believe, 10 $50 punch spots, 10 $100, and then 250, and then 500, and then there was like, I don't know, whatever the denominations were. There's only 2 10,000s, I think, and 2 5,000s, and the board there was a 50, and the maximum punches that we could have collectively got was going to be 24. So I believe we got, I think it was like 3-3-2-2, I think is the amount of punches that we had. And so it was just very likely to not get 10,000, very likely to not get 5,000. So Kat goes, my order was Kat, Brazil, Joanne, Aton, me, then JoJo. But I could still switch it up within those things. I can make
each try.
Whatever. I can switch up each time. So Brazil ended up getting, I think it was a 50 first, and then she got, I believe it was either 500 or 1,000 plus another punch, and then she got the $1,000 punch. I think that's how it worked. And then I think she didn't go again or something like that. And so she got 1,500 in total. I was like, ooh, that's going to be pretty hard to beat, because then everybody else was getting like 50, 150 or whatever, very low numbers. And so order didn't really matter. It just mattered what you were going to punch. And I didn't have luck on my side that time.
Yeah. The one part that I did think that Andrew should have given the information up front was, I think, after the first guess, for the higher or lower. After that was when he said, "Oh, I was shopping at the Bay."
Mm-hmm.
And I wondered if you guys got that information beforehand, because that seemed like kind of crucial information. Like if you're shopping at Winners versus shopping at the Bay versus shopping at Holt Renfrew, like they're going to be very different prices.
Absolutely. And you could find those things for different price points at different places 100%. So yeah, I do feel as though I like the throwback to game shows for sure. And like I think he mentioned in that particular video that he wanted to do a Big Brother with only game shows. I guess for me, it was just frustrating because for Vito, if your life's on the line, you want to be able to have a shot to win it, you know? And I did everything I could, and I still couldn't do it because I didn't pick the right number. I hated it. I hated that.
I see what you mean. Like the nominees in the HOH usually fight hardest in a veto, and when you can like actually see what fighting hard looks like in a competition, it's by studying or by sticking your neck out for more punishments, or like you can see those kinds of things, and that's usually reserved for vetoes. And I find more luck is usually on the HOH side in the real show, because that's the more fun thing. Where's the power going to land? But when it's veto, you want to see the real like heated competitions.
More people being able to fight for it. Right?
Yeah.
And that's what makes these like rootable underdogs. That what makes these heroes. Like that's what makes the story arcs of some of the characters playing is that they're able to take themselves out of sticky situations when they needed to. When the pressure's on, they survive. And so I felt that like I just didn't get that opportunity. There was only, as I said, 2 competitions where in the vetoes where that was really a possibility of using your own skill set to be able to save yourself. And so, yeah, I was just a little bit, I was like pretty upset when I saw that the competition was mostly luck. I was happy that I had the major advantage to be able to at least choose the order, but the order doesn't matter if you don't have the good numbers to punch.
Yeah.
Well, was there, getting to the veto ceremony, I think it was obvious Brazil was going to use it. Was there a lot of talk about who that replacement nominee was going to be? Do you think it was already set in stone and there was no discussion? Like what was the house like during the like after the veto ceremony?
I just didn't want to say anything because I didn't want whomever I was pushing to not do it, be on the blog, or to be on the blog. I didn't want that to blow up in my face. So I kind of was a little bit quiet as to who potential nominees would be. Because I knew that it was most likely going to be someone from season 3. And I didn't really want it to be either of them, obviously, but I didn't want, if I pushed one, then the other one would go up. So I kind of left it to whatever they were deciding.
I think it was probably clear at that point you were the target. So anything you could have said would have just maybe given more ammo or information that you wouldn't want anyone to have, right? So yeah, I was kind of shocked, I think, just as an outsider that it was Nicole, but I think Kat's reasoning was sound enough in her own opinion. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, for sure sound enough. I definitely heard, a lot of people saying like, yeah, I got to get out of the winner. So I don't think that I had much of a shot with staying if that was the sentiment of the house,
Right.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if I have any other questions for you. Is there anything else just in the house that you'd like to discuss here while you're here?
Oh, shoot. I didn't even realize that I had comments going on here. Hold on. Let's go. Okay.
Oh, let's do some comments.
Let's see. No, I was rooting for you.
Wait, Phil, of all people, you were rooting for Chantal?
You guys want to read them or do you want me to read them?
Yeah, go, Lindsay.
Yeah, you go ahead.
I don't want you read it.
Okay, fine. Not wanting to win may work in a regular game, but it is no way to win an all-star game. These players, I would assume, are going to vote for who made moves. That's true. Like what we were saying, like you can't make moves when you're not in power, and people will always think that a move is made by someone else, even if it was you behind the scenes. I think
Yep.
that happened a lot in season four from my point of view. I felt like I was doing a lot of that. I think Brazil had a lot of that, and people doubted Brazil's merit to winning season four because she didn't win comps until very late, but she was doing those moves all along as well. Yeah, but you need to win. You
Yeah.
need to win comps to stand out among all stars. In a regular season, you can be that mastermind, but in an all star season, everyone is there for a reason. So I think winning is awesome.
Yeah, I definitely was very surprised by how deep people would be lying in this particular game. That also, I would say, threw me for a loop. I felt, I know these games, there's lies, deceptions can happen, but to the extent some of the people went through to lie when they really didn't have to, and there is also a possibility of me coming back from Redempble Temple, that I just was like, it was also just didn't feel great in that regard of playing a game, like
Yeah.
we do these things because it's fun, but when people are kind of nasty and like promising on big important things, like it just doesn't feel good it doesn't feel like a snipe. It just feels like, I don't know, it's showing poor character in some of these people. So I was just kind of disheartened by the lengths that people were willing to lie to me, even up to the very end when the votes were already in,
I agree with you. I also think it's as someone who's done it once before when I lied to Ryan saying I was voting to keep him, it was to disarm him because he's really good with words. He could rally the troops and maybe find a way to stay. And I think
But
maybe
that
some
was prior to
people,
the votes going in, Nick.
sorry,
That was prior to the votes going in. You wanted to make sure that nothing
the votes
changed
line.
between when you had made your decision and
Fair.
the lying to the end. I mean, yeah, I agree with you. Like, I felt like in our season, we were pretty honest with people once it was locked and loaded.
Hmm.
And I
But
don't
I
really
think
see any need.
maybe
Uh,
the lying though is because Chantel's not out of the game, so it's still a lie that carries forward and could have repercussions because she's still technically in the game. So maybe these lies, if there was no Redempble Temple, they
then
wouldn't
I
have been done.
would make a little bit more sense, you know what I mean? But like to lie to be even like after the votes were already in, it's just kind of
Oh, okay.
like, obviously I'm gonna find out, and
Hmm.
if I come back in, like I guess they don't care whether or not they're I'm annoyed with them for the fact that they lied to my face,
Hmm.
But I guess they don't really know me as a game player. Like the things that I value is loyalty and honesty, to be honest. And like, that's how I like to play the game. And I would think I also was getting a lot of, um, projections from these people, like saying like I'm doing all these different things when I really wasn't. I was very upfront with Pat and Ryan, with them being the people that's putting up. I didn't hide it. Like I withheld it for a moment, but I did tell them first before I told anybody else. And so they're just
right.
like that people are saying that like me and realness that we planned this huge big alliance. Like I didn't talk to anybody pregame. It was Ryan pregame. I think it was November 27th or something. He decided to pull together all the 3-4 chat people and into this group. And you say yes to all alliances because,
It's week one.
you don't want to say it's before week one. And he's, he now this 3-4 chat is gospel because he's like, are me and you going to be at odds with each other, or are we going to work together in this game? And I was like, oh, well, I've always just thought that season 3 and 4 were going to work together. And then all of a sudden there's like a group chat made that I'm a part of. And apparently everything I say is a lie. And I'm like, well, I didn't start this group.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, it's just
Well,
a little bit frustrating that, this channel was kind of reborn out of the BB Canada 8 was starting, and I was going to revamp it. And so I hadn't been doing it as consistently beforehand. And then Big Brother Canada got canceled. And then Andrew decided to do Big Brother season 4 earlier because it would have been around October that he was planning on doing it, but he decided to do it in April. And so we had nothing to cover, and I was like, oh, that could be kind of like a fun idea. I enjoyed playing the game Big Brother 3 with JoJo and Jonathan. Maybe they would want to do it with me. We can cover the show. We'll see if Andrew likes that idea, you know? And so I didn't even know if Andrew would have accepted it because of the fact that like maybe it's leading or information or whatnot, but he was into it. And so we decided to cover it. And it was only because of the shit, like it wasn't like some big thing that we cultivated this big alliance together. It's like it was season 3 and Brazil was off work and we decided to do Love Island together. So I don't know. It was just like the fact that Ryan and Dylan have painted Reality Realness as this big boogeyman when really it was just a group of people that worked on a season together that were doing something during the pandemic that we all enjoyed. You know,
I'd say it's maybe your form of pre-gaming in a way, like it, but like it happenstance pre-gaming because you guys all came together and just had a natural bond and are happened to be playing. Like you and Brazil were already playing because you're winners, and then the All Stars were chosen by Andrew. So the fact that it was JoJo and Jonathan, I don't know if Reality Realness had something to do with that, and that's why they were brought on, or if he was already going to pick them anyways. But it's kind of just a sense of like natural connections made. So I get why people are scared of it, but it's also not, like you said, a big boogeyman. It shouldn't have to be this big boogeyman because everyone comes in with season connections beforehand anyway.
Well, and that's the thing. We were all from the same season, and then Brazil was from your season, but she was off work, and I wanted someone to cover Love Island with. And she's no, you know?
Not many people liked Love Island. So.
It was really good.
Andrew's commenting. Andrew's actually watching Reality Realness as it's happening for once. Yay! Hi, Andrew.
This is so exciting. It's Andrew's voice right now.
And Marcin, I was just about to watch today's episode, but this feed totally spoiled the voting.
Well, we haven't talked about the vote. We didn't talk about vote X to Y, so you can still watch it for that.
Well, also, I don't know, it's 8 hours after it was released.
Yeah,
true.
Sorry, guys. It had to be a little bit earlier because I have a time difference happening now, so.
That's true. Thanks, Marcin.
Thanks, Marcin.
Chantal, ready for Dimple Temple. How thick is that notebook on all the seasons?
I don't know. I mean, the thing is that I never give up, but the game itself hasn't been as fun as I would have hoped it would have been. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like I'll probably beat Dylan most likely, but he also had a couple weeks to study, so maybe not. Mm-hmm. And with these nominations, like if it's Curtis that comes and sits beside me, he's probably done a lot of work. So I do feel as though it might be more challenging for me to get back in, even if I beat Dylan, because I feel the people that may be targeted are all really, 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 really wanting to be there. So I definitely will try my best, but I'm not going to put all, like, you know, my hope and dreams into, like, winning Redempble Temple. Like, I'm okay with going out in, like, the Janelle spot. I like playing games like Janelle does. Which is kind of what it feels like. My mom even said to me, she's like, because I was talking a lot with Chanel yesterday, I think it was, and, like, you know, she definitely made me feel at one point that it was a potential for us to be working together and like going strong to the end. And like, and then in the morning she changed her tune, which she probably was changing her tune the whole time, but like just gaslighting me, whatever, to make me believe whatever she wanted. But my mom was like, I feel like you're Janelle, and she's like Danny, just jealous of your sparkle, and she's the only winner with the last name Francis.
I mean, moms have to say those kinds of things.
I was also a pretty big gamer, and she watched the show, and she heard all the things that like Chanel was saying back and forth to me. So you know, she was just kind of like, wow, like you go through that lengths to try to have that kind of bond just to be like, fuck you.
Well, I have to get my notebook because I
Yep.
want to ask
Yeah, I was
you.
going to say, I think we need to ask the question of whose team do you think is going to win? I think we forgot to ask Dylan
You did
last
for
week.
but I think off the top of my head, I feel like Nick had a stronger team. But you can
Okay.
Ever-
Well,
got it.
to recap, on Lindsay's team still in the game, we have Aton, Curtis, Rhonda, Nicole, Dylan, Joanne, Joanne and Chad. So she has a lot of people except for Jeffrey. I have Jonathan, Brazil, Chantel, Chanel, Jojo, Kat, and that's it because Ryan and Charlene have now been evicted.
Well, I think that Nick has the better team, but it seems as though they're getting out the bigger targets. So I think that the people that are playing, sorry guys, it's just my opinion, on Lindsay's team are just not as great of game players, and I just think that they'll probably go further just because they're not going to be the targets. So they're going to be able to hide. They're able to not have to make any moves, and they'll
Squeak out some victories.
over the radar. Pardon?
And squeak out some victories at the end.
Maybe. Well, I mean, they'll have to, but like, yeah like they're going to go far. And I think that you have a lot more of a flashy team. I think that like I would want someone from your team to win, but I think that it's more likely for Lindsay's team to take the W.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I had a few people. Oh, sorry, Chantal. I think I cut you off.
No, I was just saying with how the season has been going. I was obviously hoping that winners would stay together. I think, you're asking about what my fatal flaw or whatever, like biggest wrongdoings. Another big thing that I've been regretting a lot is allowing Jeffrey to leave. And that was partially because of my trust in the relationship that Brazil had with Curtis. I think I could have had the vote be flipped. I'm sorry, Dylan. I hadn't spoken to a word at that point, but I think I could have had that be flipped. And having Jeffrey in there, he's another flashy target. B, he's somebody that likes to strategize. I feel like he was also quite honest. And I just think that we could have worked well together. I find that the people in the game don't really like to strategize. They just kind of like to make promises and then not keep them. So I just think that, and he doesn't like blow up like Ryan and Dylan have. You know what I mean? Like, I just think he would have been a more enjoyable person to have kept in the game, to play the game.
On your wavelength, maybe?
Pardon?
Someone more on your wavelength to work with through the game, yeah.
Yeah.
But also a bigger target, a bigger shield for you too.
Absolutely. So I feel like if he had stayed, I think that would have shifted how this game would have went. Chanel is dating, I believe, his cousin, so she wouldn't have snaked him, and I think that he would have at least been honest with me. So I feel like I would have had more honest version of Chanel through working with Jeffrey. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I can see that.
One thing I wanted to ask quickly is, do you think that you regret winning HOH? Not that you had much of a choice. You said you kind of highballed the guess for the marshmallows, but when you got it, was your first reaction like yes, or were you kind of like, oh?
I was like, oh, because I knew that Ryan wanted to flush out that veto. So I was like, man, I'm going to have 4 people pissed at me. That's so annoying. Like I was annoyed at the threat of the Ruby on the that I was playing.
Yeah, I think of any HOH to win, that was probably the worst one.
And if there was no Ruby veto, 100% I would not have put either of them up. 100%. Like, there was absolutely no way.
Yeah.
At all.
That's the fun of the game. All these little things. Like I always love Big Brother because it's something happens in a week and then you look forward 2 more weeks, and because that person got this power now, and it just slowly trickles down into this big thing that you can trace it back to quite easily. I find for example, in Survivors, it's kind of like, oh, we don't want this person anymore. Okay, gang up, get them out. In Big Brother, you have to go through so many hoops to get someone out, and there's so many little decisions made along the way that it's a lot more fun for me to watch or to play in.
Absolutely. And so I guess that's why I've just been so frustrated that the one veto that I was playing, I couldn't try my hardest to win it, you know, like my hardest wasn't going to be good enough. And Andrew, he commented in the video being like, you know, I'm not that great of competitions. Well, on my season, I didn't really have to win any. right? I didn't, my neck was never really on the line where I was like really scared that I was going to go. Like I never had that pressure. I didn't play in that many veto competitions in general. I wasn't head of household, and
Or nominated.
and I wasn't nominated. So I didn't have the opportunity to play a lot of these games to show, my competitive prowess. And I've played many other orgs where I've done exceptionally well competition wise, but it was also when my neck was on the line. So
Yeah.
just like, his perception is that I'm not a really great competitor, but for the most part, I haven't really needed to be.
You have to be motivated to want the win, as we're seeing on this season too. A lot of people don't want wins, or they fall onto them and they're scared. And yeah, it's interesting.
It is.
I'm excited that someone finally voted for Lindsay's team to win. That's the first one. So
well, it was my reason though, because out next, like dream list would be, Curtis, Chanel. That would be great for them to be out. I think they're both really strong players. Chanel's a winner. And those are both from Curtis is on your team, Lindsay? I can't remember actually now.
Yeah,
Curtis
I think I've Curtis. Yeah.
But I think that he's probably the strongest person on your team, I think.
Yeah. I went for the underdogs. I got a lot of criticism from people who aren't playing, but are, at least started watching at the beginning of the season. I think a few people have dropped off now because of just trying to keep up with the pace of this season. And yeah, quite a few people were like, "What were you thinking?" And after week 1, I was like, maybe I went completely wrong, but I'm a fan of the underdog, so I'm sticking with it.
I mean,
I have confidence in my team.
Looks better this week than it did last week.
Yeah,
definitely. I was like, okay, you know what? Like, I didn't see things going this way at all, and so that means that like my idea of how the game was going to go from the beginning is completely different now. So I think it's evolved, your team becoming the more likely team.
This just quickly came to mind now. I was just thinking about like the bloodbath and Kat's message about how it's going to be a bloodbath, and we've talked about the whole bloodbath thing for All-Stars. Do you think that this was Kat's best move, and do you think it was the move she intended when she put you and Brazil up? Or do you think that Brazil was the target and vetoes changed things?
I think that Brazil was more likely going to be the target, only because I feel that Kat, deep down, if she has a heart, believes that like I wasn't really coming for her and that I would forgive her. And I wouldn't necessarily hold a grudge for her putting me up. I would be like, okay, of course, like eye for an eye, like I get it, like, and I would be able to move past it, and I would be able to work with her moving forward. I think that because Brazil is kind of said from the beginning, like, hey, I don't really want to have anything to do with either of you, even with much urging from me specifically. I think that she would have been more likely to be the target because I don't think that she would even forgive after this. So, and from what I've heard, she hasn't really talked that much game to Lindsay's team, other than this. So, it would have been easy for Kat to rally the votes to have Brazil be evicted. So I do think that Brazil was more, Kat said 50-50, but I think that Brazil would have been more likely to have gone if it was both of us on the block. Andrew was saying that I would have stayed against anyone. I don't think that I would have stayed against anybody, to be honest.
Okay.
Not with how deep that they were lying. I just don't think that they would have kept me. I think because I was a winner for sure, and because I was one of the original nominees, like I don't think I could have done anything. Now.
Okay. Yeah.
Now. I did at one point think that I had it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I remember speaking with you and just being like, I don't think I'm going to be talking to you next week at the end when we found out Kat won. I'm like, I don't think I'm going to be talking to you. But that was more so like I had just faith in you that you could just win your way there, maybe avoid nomination, maybe survive the vote. Just like there's so many things like I talked about in Big Brother that you have to dodge. I figured you'd dodge at least one of them. And it's unfortunate you're here, but you played a good game. So, and you're still in it, and you can like I told Dylan, you can study, you can work hard, and you can go in knowing the categories that you get to pick one of the two of them and study up on that. And I think just don't give up and keep fighting because if you or Dylan get back in, no matter who gets back in, if it is one of you two, it's going to be exciting and fun for us to watch. So just
What's
keep
your
being
thought,
motivated.
both of you? Would you spin the wheel for either a poo round veto or a fast forward?
Oh, can I
Oh,
predict what Nick would say?
yeah, please do. I want to see if you're right.
Although now the based on your facial reaction, I'm thinking I'm wrong, but I would have thought you would say no,
Oh, I mean,
because you don't like that risk of the Pooh Brown.
okay, so you played with me in a season where I felt I was safe for the whole. I didn't get nominated. I felt very safe and well connected, and like allied, and me and we dominated in the second half, especially. But
Yeah.
in this thing, if the person who gets to spin it is the person who got evicted and fought their way back into the game with a bunch of angry people at them, hell yeah, I'm spinning a wheel. If I have a 50-50 chance to get a fast forward, like, yeah, I'll do it. It's not that I'm not going to be like, well, I already know I'm in a great position in the house. I'm just not going to spin this. No, you want the safety. So I think that's the thing you don't know necessarily about me. If I'm in danger, oh yeah, I will act. I will act.
Fair enough. Um,
That risk?
It's worth a 50-50
yes.
when you've just been evicted. Yeah.
So I think I would probably want to assess what the situation is coming back in, because there will be other evictions before you get back in. And so
This one. It's basically this one.
okay, so yeah, so there'll be one other person out. So I think I'd want to assess who it is that was out and where I think the people, like,
The
how do I say, like, where the mindset is before I would make a 50-50 choice on that.
Take a temperature check of the house currently and then decide.
Yeah.
I just know that if I'm up on the block, they'll take the chance to get me out again. So is it worth it to risk that maybe somebody that wouldn't nominate me even winning and get that week fast forward, as opposed to like potentially putting myself in a position where everybody would just vote me out again? So,
well, I think. Oh, let me just think for 1 second. What I was going to say. Go ahead with another thought while I think of it. It was about the
Oh,
Pooh Bear
I
wheel.
was just thinking that I'm kind of on the same boat as what you're saying, Chantal. And like, I think I would be working harder to fight for HOH or for one of, like, a really trusted ally to get HOH than to want to spin the wheel.
and I just would hope though that this HOH wouldn't be chance. Like HOHs, yes, are usually more likely,
Yeah.
crapshoot, whatever. But I just like want, like, where's that endurance comp? Like,
Focus on the things you can control, though. Like you can't control what comps are coming next. You can study and like understand Andrew's mindset in past seasons, and he's been doing a lot of new things. So I don't know where to go from there. But
Yeah.
my question was specifically though, or my comment really was, if you don't spin the wheel and you come back in, I think it goes to a random draw. Then that person gets to spin it or not. Then the next person, and by you saying no, trying to keep safety, which you might not already have, it could fall into someone else's. Like you do in HOH now, your target is safe. Like there's so many things that could happen by you not taking dibs.
I'm good. I'm good. Like I got tons.
There.
I got at least 6 of them.
So to get this clear, if you spin the wheel and I think it's fast forward or poop round veto, right? And the poop round veto can be used any week, or does it have to be that week?
It's that week.
Oof, that's like revolving door. I don't think that's the case. I don't remember hearing that. But
Andrew, are you still listening?
anyways,
Here.
if you win if you do get poop round veto, are you not eligible to play in that HOH, or could you still decide it can be any week up until top 6 like normal?
If you can decide when you need to use it, then I would be more enticed to hold on to it.
I think that's it. I think that is the way, because he said there was going to be a second one that's given out, I believe, when the next person comes back in, because there's another Redempble Temple with 3 rounds. And I think being an evictee that you have its Pooh Brown veto on you, no one wants to waste their HOH on you. And I'd actually be like, kick them while they're down. I'm going to go after my targets because, again, there's another week of gameplay that can make new enemies. And it might not be the worst thing if you do get a Pooh Brown veto, because people are just like, well, I'm not going to nominate her. She'll have to put herself up eventually. And that goes for anyone who comes back in the house. So
Or they don't
that's
But
my
then you're
mindset.
still on the
want
block.
to make a new enemy, so they'll just nominate me right away. So then they don't have to put somebody to replace that. Or what
If you make it back in,
then
if you make it back in and you are tempted by Andrew to spin the wheel, you will know exactly in that moment what you need to do.
will I?
Yeah, I mean, I think anyone will have to.
Nick has so much
but,
confidence.
yeah. I just think, like Lindsay said, you'll have a better temperature.
I picked those numbers. Didn't come through for me.
I know.
I'm actually usually a really lucky person too. Like, but you know, I don't really play those kind of lotteries.
You're an air sign. Of course you're super lucky with numbers. Right?
No.
No, that's not how it works.
Speaking of which, though, I always pick my own number. So I picked 25 and Andrew commented on it. But Kat's birthday number is 28, which did have a $10,000 square in it. So that would have been interesting if she had picked that square.
Mm-hmm. And JoJo's birthday's on the 77th. And he...
But no, but like, you know, I mean,
don't laugh at that. That was lame.
No, what I'm laughing at was it took me a second to actually figure out what it was you had said.
Oh, okay. What were you saying, Chantel?
I was more laughing at how dumb I am. Sorry.
No, I'm saying that I'm
Chantel.
saying Kat's birthday because we discussed that mine's January 25th and hers is January 28th. And so that's the only reason why I know her birthday, because we were talking about working together as Aquarius people.
Right.
So it was surprising that she didn't choose, like, 'cause I always choose my birthday number, but I didn't realize that other people don't always do that. I just
my favorite number is 9, and I was lucky that someone picked 9, and it was I got to know what it was, and it was a dud anyways, so like it wouldn't have mattered. If I was in that comp, I would have picked 9, and I would have got $50 or something.
Well, because and then Andrew did ask me after, like, would you have picked any of these numbers? And I was like, no.
Let me check.
No, I did write down what numbers I was planning on picking.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't any listeners. It was probably $50.
Well, you have a duel coming up in a few hours, I believe.
I don't know if I'm going to do it tonight or because I'm doing the challenge tonight. So I asked Andrew if I could do it tomorrow. And so he's finding out with Dylan if that's a possibility. So it would be, if it moves to tomorrow, 10 a.m. will be when Redemption is. No. So yeah, that's most likely what the time is going to be, like 1 a.m. tonight or something. After I just don't know how I'm going to be doing the challenge. So sometimes we go quite long because we're watching the episode, that we have some time to like regroup and then come, and sometimes it's like 2 hours or longer. So I just don't have a definitive time, and I don't want to feel rushed, and then I also don't want to feel like discombobulated. So
yeah, fair enough.
Get studying in the downtime that you can, and good luck in Redemption Temple. And maybe we'll talk to you again when you get back in and win or get evicted again.
Yes.
That was my middle finger, if you couldn't tell.
Oh, okay. That could be any finger, folks. You don't know. No, I mean,
I need to put a little higher.
Again. We'll talk to you again if you get back in the house one way or the other. If you don't go back in the house, we'll see. But
yeah. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this game right now. But I'm happy to talk to you guys. It was a nice little button to the season. I definitely knew that. Hold on, Brazil has a comment here. Brazil says, can confirm Rai was the main one pre-gaming as if his life depended on it, starting chats without Houseguest's consent. Happy face. But people will make imaginary lemons into lethal lemonade, apparently.
Lethal lemonade, that'd be a good alliance name.
I like that. Lethal lemonade.
That is awesome.
I like that.
Any more comments?
No. Definitely true, Brazil. Definitely true.
Sorry. No, I was just going to ask Nick really quickly. I feel like we covered a lot already. Do we have anything else we want to cover without Chantal, or do we want to sign off?
No, I mean, we could talk about the HOH comp. That's really all that's happened, but I usually like to save that for the next week. But no, let's just talk a little bit about what we think it could happen, and just like let's do a little recap without Chantal.
All right.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Ciao.
It feels a little strange kicking Chantel off of her channel.
Whatever. We'll kick everyone off. I don't care who you are. We will kick you. Yeah, I'm just like just this week as a whole was I think like Kat talked about it. She said she wanted to bring the fire and like all these memes of like blood and all this stuff. And I think it was like
Mm,
it delivered. I think it was I think she's probably happy with her week. I don't know if she was excited to name a replacement nominee. Maybe it showed a few of her cards more, but I think
maybe.
it was a solid week and it was a mix-up week. We kind of had that feeling at the
Yeah.
end of last episode that it was going to happen and be, well, what's good? This is new and weird, so we'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
It could be a turning point week. I really hope that Kat used the time not just to exact her revenge, but to create some new alliances. You know, the best thing about HOH isn't that you just get to put people up on the block, but you get to learn things, right? And you get to
Hmm.
decide how to dispel the secrets. So, in order to like create new friendships. So, it could be a real turning point in the game now, which I think is
I
pretty
liked
cool.
how Andrew mentioned that there's two new alliances. I don't know if they're both real, one not, but I think it's interesting that alliances are still starting now, and like that's when at a turning point in the game is when new alliances might be forming. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what else happened this week that we haven't kind of touched on with Chantel already. Uh,
No new powers were given out that I can
no,
recall. It's
it was a
yeah, it was
quiet
pretty
week in that sense.
yeah, but pretty straightforward weak as far as like an HOH having a target and getting rid of one of, if not the target. I'm interested now that, I mean, spoiler alert, Joanne won HOH. It was in the new
Yeah.
episode this morning, but I don't know anything about Joanne except for how Andrew impersonates her and that she doesn't get along with Charlene. And I'm excited to see a little bit more of what she'll do with power because it's my understanding she's never won anything in
Yeah.
her Big Brother Cheesecake career. So I'm excited to see who she nominates. It might show her cards of like who she's working with and who's not, and it's gonna be it's still a great season to watch for sure.
Yeah, so I have no idea who she's working with. The only thing that I kind of know about Joanne, and I think it's probably what gave her the All Star, is just she seems to be a very likable, other than by Charlene, seems to be a very likable person. She's, as Andrew's voice shows, like she's quite flirtatious. She's very chatty.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
so
that's she won the competition based off being chatty. So I mean, it'll be
yeah, so I don't know what that means for who she's working with. But I think that yeah, we'll probably learn a little bit more about the house this week because she's HOH. So that's pretty cool.
well, that was good.
And
Have be happy and safe in overseas, and I'm happy you came on. What time is it over there right now?
it is just after midnight.
Oh,
So
okay,
it's
that's
very
not.
late for me.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
But I am still a bit jet lagged. For our viewers, I did everything that I needed to travel safely, I promise. I did not break any Canadian or international rules, although maybe recommendations, but I
Hmm.
am here in the Netherlands to be able to see my partner who I've been separated from for a couple of months. So please don't judge me.
No, you're fine. You're doing right.
But yes, I'm in quarantine now, so it really doesn't matter what time we're filming at. But thank you, everyone, for allowing us to do it a little bit earlier. And I guess I'll sign us off with thanks, everyone, for uh, um, words. Sorry, I will try again. I will sign us off by thanking everyone for tuning in to watch my co-host Nick and I talk about Cheesecake, Big Brother Cheesecake Season 5 All Stars.
And if you haven't already, like, ring the bell for notifications and subscribe and keep watching us cover the season and all the other awesome stuff that Chantal does on the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye.